What up?
Right here, Chach.
Ready.
Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Today we are talking CrossFit kids and teens with the man himself, Mr. Reza Mashkouri. What is teens and kids CrossFit? Start with that.
Well, it's exactly well, there's a big difference between kids and teens.
Okay.
Kids is just like a super fun way of tricking kids into doing fitness.
Mm-hmm.
Teens is like, it's very similar to what you get with adults.
Okay. So like programming for kids versus teens, what's it look like?
Kids is filled with games. So we try to turn almost everything into a game. We do mix a little bit of skill work in there. It's not as much variety as we see with the teens and the adults. We really focus on the like foundational movements across it, like the 9.
Mm-hmm.
Some aren't exactly the same, but similar.
Right.
But with the teens, like it's free reign.
Right.
Yeah.
What's the structure of it? Because teens sounds similar to regular class. What's the structure of a kid's class? How does it usually break down? Because they're an hour long, right? Usually.
Not really.
Okay.
They're usually about 40 minutes long.
Okay.
They're a little bit shorter. Similar structure, like warm up. We always have more than one skill, so at least usually 2 skills, and then we have a WOD and we play games. Now it's not always in that order.
Right.
Sometimes the warm up is a game itself, and then we might do a skill, play a game, do another skill, do a WOD. It varies all the time. Mm-hmm. The key with the kids is to make it fun. Mm-hmm. So when you were I don't know if you or anyone who's listening remembers when they were in like high school or
Wasn't too long ago.
Yeah, long time for me. Gym class wasn't like I had like a fitness class.
Yeah.
And it was a drag for me. Like it was boring because fitness wasn't fun.
Yeah.
So our goal with the kids program is to turn fitness into something that's fun, something that kids are stoked on, so that they don't have this negative association with fitness. Right. So we've actually had parents in the past who have brought their kids to our program. Yeah. Who are like, their children were overweight and they're like, listen, like I want my kids to lose weight. And I'm like, listen, this is a great program for your kids to lose weight, but like it's not a boot camp. Yeah. It's a fun. If your kids aren't having fun, I don't think this is a good fit for them. Right. So that's our priorities, that kids have fun.
Yeah, because I remember growing up doing dry land conditioning or whatever it was, like to associate with the sport, it was always negative. Like no one wanted to do the fitness side of it. They just wanted to play the sport. So you're basically trying to make it all in one, like something that's like the game aspect and the enjoyment aspect, but still having the fitness come through a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. You're just kind of like sprinkling CrossFit in there, here and there.
Do they know what they're doing?
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Like sometimes we'll write it up on the whiteboard. Sometimes it'll just be a surprise. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, especially with like the preteens, when you write it up on the whiteboard, they're just like, "Oh man!" Like, So sometimes it's an element of surprise. Right.
Keeps you guessing, keeps you going.
It's probably one of the more challenging classes to coach.
I can imagine.
Yeah, because like imagine this, right? If they're not having fun, you need to reevaluate your plan on the fly. Right. Like why is this like? If they're not having fun, I need to turn this into something fun. Right. So it's not like, hey guys, we're doing 100 burpees, and they're like, oh, you lose. Yeah. Like if you get that body language or that verbiage from those kids, you're done. Yeah. So it's gotta be like something fun. And there's ways to like making burpees fun. Right. And so you gotta get really creative.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where does that happen?
Like
kids and teens classes, like is it just within the walls of the gym, like same as regular classes, or?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like on the other side of the gym. I mean, we take them outside sometimes. I'll probably take them outside today. Yeah. For those of you who don't know about the garden, I feel like everyone's heard about our garden, but we've started a little project with the kids, and we have them actually planting seeds and growing vegetables that we will hopefully eat at the end of the summer. Cool. But like we'll take them outside for that. Yeah. Just from a safety perspective, we try not to take them outside too much. Like we try to avoid running with them on the streets. Stuff like that. So.
Yeah, interesting. And what are the ages?
Kids are anywhere from 5 being like a gray area, usually 6 to 12. 12 also being a gray area, like if they're physically and like mentally mature enough, we could consider sliding them into the teens class. Same thing with the 5-year-olds into the kids class. Yes, it works for some 5-year-olds, it doesn't for others.
And the teens is 12, 13 to what, 17, 18?
17, 18, yeah. Again, like at 17, if they're mature enough, like we have one guy who we've slipped into our adult classes because he's mature enough. I mean, he drives and stuff, so he does that. He does really well in the adult classes. So
okay, interesting. Why should kids do it? So let's talk kids first. Why is it important? Why is it relevant for kids to do it? Parents listening, why?
See you, Joe.
Why should they want their kids to do it?
I think it's fun for kids, and just like what I said earlier, it kind of associates like this fun fitness as this fun thing in their lives. It's also like obviously very healthy for them, right? For kids to learn how to squat properly and how to like lift objects up properly, I think it's really good for their physical growth as you know, kind of moving on into adulthood and as teenagers. I also think that I mean, there's a lot of research out there that proves that kids are more they're better behaved, and they learn better after physical activity. So there's an article in the CrossFit Journal that it's about how some CrossFit kids programs have mini classrooms set up in their gym where kids will do a CrossFit class and then have like a 20-minute period afterwards to do their homework. And that's like the best time for them to do that's science has shown that's the best time for them to do their homework.
They're probably willing to actually sit down and work too because they're tired.
Maybe, too, and their brain, I think like something to do with the brain activity. It's like
interesting.
I forget the science behind it, but it's it's cool. I actually did that with one of our teens after class. He was having some issues with his math, and one of our guys is a tutor, so I had him do his WOD, and then he'd sit with the tutor afterwards for an hour. I'd actually let them come up here and helped him out big time. That's like cool. He went from failing out of this math class to like passing it and moving on.
That's awesome. What would you say for like maybe someone who their kid doesn't play any sports or something like that? Like, is it appropriate for a kid who's never done anything physical before?
I think like you know, just like how I would say CrossFit is appropriate for anyone, I would say, you know, kids CrossFit is appropriate for anyone too. But I mean, they have to be, you know, like I said, if it's not fun for the kid, like if a kid comes in here and they're just like it's a drag for them, I don't want them to do that because I don't want them to associate like, oh man, yeah, my parents used to make me do CrossFit and it sucked. Like, no, like I want them to be like, man, like go to school and be like, I do this really fun thing. And it's called CrossFit and it's so fun. And it's just like, all we do is play games and like, you know, like they say it's a workout, but like all we do is play games. Like I'm tricking them into playing games and stuff. And that's cool because I actually think that's how a good CrossFit Kids program will grow, and that's how ours grew, right? Like all those kids are friends, and they go to school, and they're just like, man, I'm doing this crazy thing, like I'm putting balls over my head, and like whatever, and like it's so fun, and then you know.
What would you say to a parent that like maybe the parent with like the overweight kid who really wants their kid to start exercising, but their kid wants nothing to do with it?
Well,
how would they get them in without their kid hating it?
I would have them try a class. We're really lucky at NCR that we have some awesome coaches, and they know how to kind of work around those kids and like help them enjoy it. But at the end of the day, we're not trying to force it upon anyone, right? If that kid doesn't want to be there, it's just that kid doesn't want to be there, and you know, some parents don't like that, but I'm not really like, I'm not super like, we're not looking for PRs and stuff in the kids. You know what I mean? Like, so, you know, as much as I want the kid to be healthy, like I don't, my priority is that they have a positive association with fitness, and fitness is something fun and not a chore or a task that's like not so fun, you know?
Right. Okay. Let's switch to the teens. Same question. Why do you see most teens coming in here? Because I feel like a lot of them, it might be a bit more self brought on, like they see it and they want to do it versus their parents bring them in. What's the benefit for the 13 to 18-year-old demographic in this? I mean,
you know, at that age, a lot of them are into sports. If they are playing sports, it really complements their sports, I think. I think we're going to see that. Like, I think we're going to see like a generation of athletes coming into sports that use CrossFit as their strength and conditioning and excel, right? Even us that played sports like before CrossFit, I feel like if we had maybe used CrossFit as our strength and conditioning tool, we probably would have been better at those sports. So I also think it's just healthy for them, right? Just like it is for adults, like develops strong like skeletal muscle. Like if they're if they're playing contact sports, like it's valuable to have that, right?
Right. Interesting. So how many times a week is the teens class? Like how many times a week do most teens?
We're doing it right now 3 times a week.
3 times a week, and do most come to all 3?
Yeah, I would say so. They also, with teens, they're also very active outside the gym. Like in most cases, CrossFit is not the only thing that they're doing. Yeah. So I think 3 times a week is more than enough.
Yeah. And so what would you say we want it as a supplemental program? So what would you say for like that balance between the sport and CrossFit? So like let's say you have a kid who's coming to you and trying to come like after every hockey practice. Like would you advise that teen to do it 1 to 2 times a week on days they don't have their other sport, or like what's the concept like?
Just like I would advise an adult, and teenagers are freaks, like they have an unlimited supply of energy. Like if they feel good after their hockey game, okay, come to CrossFit. If I notice that they play a hockey game and they show up to CrossFit class and they're like hauling ass and they're not really dragging ass and not really doing anything, and like I could tell that they're tired, I would make the recommendation to them and their parents that maybe they come, on days where they don't have hockey or
Interesting. So we're starting to see, obviously because teens and kids CrossFit is growing, and there's been kids and teens who are doing it for years. We have now the competition within the teens specifically. What are your thoughts on that? Like young people competing in CrossFit?
I'm not huge on kids competing because it depends.
What's your age range for kids there when it comes to competing?
I don't know. I don't think kids should compete. I think it should just be fun. And we often don't even take scores at the whiteboard. Some kids have a hard time counting to 100. I don't think those kids need to be competing in fitness. You know what I mean? Teens, I think CrossFit has done an amazing job at regulating the sport for that age group.
Okay.
Most people don't know this, but at the CrossFit Games, every single teenage competitor, has, I forget the specific title, but they essentially have someone that is there to make sure that they're safe.
Right.
So if, for example, I think it's called their safety monitor. Yeah. If it's not called that, we'll just refer to that from now on. If they're doing a deadlift and their back starts to round, their safety monitor will pull them out of that workout.
Right.
So most people don't know that, but they actually do have that. Cool. And I think that's huge. Because it is, teens, even though the programming and the program looks a lot similar, like it's very similar to adults, we are super cautious with our teenagers, right? We want them moving flawlessly. Yeah. Especially when it comes to weightlifting. If they're the knees are caving in or their back is rounding like that, we scale them down, and that doesn't happen in my classes because of the way I handle them. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different with adults. They're a little less sensitive, body wise. So and they're also they're a little bit more mature. If we explain to an adult, hey man, your back's rounding, you're gonna hurt yourself. Yeah. Oh well, you know what? I want to go for a PR today, so I'm okay with it. I don't recommend that, but you do you. Yeah. With a teen, it's there's none of that. It's you're done. You're not doing this anymore. Yeah. Actually, 2 years ago, we had 2 teens that made it to the online qualifier. One of the workout had heavy deadlifts in it, and I felt terrible about it, but I had to end the online qualifier for them. Yeah. I made them submit a score of 0 for that workout. Yeah. Because they couldn't lift that bar without rounding their back. Right. So I'm like, guys, it's not worth it. You guys are 16 years old. You have a a huge future ahead of you. Yeah. And I ended that for them. And that's kind of the difference. Right. But under those parameters, to answer your question, I think it's a great thing that teenagers are competing in this sport. Okay. Yeah.
So let's go. I want to step off of that because every internet jabroni is going to say something along the lines of people under 16 are developed enough to be underweight or pulling weight or doing this or doing that. It's going to stunt their growth plates. What's your thoughts and takes on all that? Because I've heard so many things growing up.
So growth plates, again, this is a scientific thing, and
just in your opinion,
there's an answer. There's a scientific answer somewhere out there for this, but a growth plate, it takes a lot to damage a growth plate. Okay. So rounding your back in a deadlift, I don't think is enough to do that. Okay. I think something that the most common way to damage a growth plate is trauma. A car accident can damage a growth plate. Yeah. But, you know, all those jabronis. So a lot of the time, like, parents will come in, and one of the most common questions we have is weightlifting safe for my kid?
Yeah.
And this is how I turn this around on them. I say, does your kid take swimming lessons? Or have they taken swimming lessons? And 95% of parents have put their kids in swimming at some point in time. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so how do you think that having your kid along with 10 other kids under the supervision of a 16-year-old in a pool where they can drown is safe? And they look at me like, oh my God, you're right, that's so dangerous. And I'm like, but, you know, like, you've put your faith in this guy, and it's very, as a matter of fact, it's very safe because, you know, and they're just like, I'm like, well, it's the same thing here. Like, we're not, you know, we're not loading your 12-year-old up with 135 pounds. You know, they're using a PVC pipe, if that. And they're graduating to a trainer bar. And from there, we can talk about maybe like doing some snatches and clean and jerks. You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I explain it to parents. It's like, I mean, and I still think to this day that like sports like soccer, football, hockey are way more dangerous than CrossFit, right?
So a lot of that safety comes from like the coaching.
Totally, and I mean, like it's a non-contact sport. Like we're seriously like taking steps before these athletes are using weight even, you know what I mean? Like even with my teens class, like you have to earn the right to use a trainer bar. You know, you have to show me that you can move really well with the PVC pipe. And I have athletes that have been coming here for 3 years and I still rip weight off their bar. You know?
Cool. So this is just, you know, maybe like slight ignorance or like the first time in my life as a 22-year-old I remember being an old man. But like when I see, we're gonna get back to the competing side, when I see teens doing only CrossFit at like 15, 16, it like hurts my soul. Because like long-term development, like you're not throwing and catching, you're not really in a team environment a lot of the time, you're not really, you know, I just feel like there's so much development in this. So like talk to that point, like what's your opinion on like, especially like the teens who are trying to maybe go to the CrossFit Games as teenagers, because that's their whole life.
I mean, it's tough, right? But here's my opinion, and it, you know, I don't know if it's the right one or not, but I think every kid should play sports. I think some kids maybe don't like playing sports and they like CrossFitting, right? I don't know. As long as it's not as long as it's a healthy obsession, right? And it's not like this crazy obsession where they're like trashing their bodies at a young age. Like, I think it's okay. You know, like I do think that I do see what you're saying, and I do value sports big time. Like as a kid who played several sports, like I do see importance in that, and I do think that that's, you know, if it were my kid, I would want them to play sports, and you kind of use CrossFit as like some side stuff. But you know, some kids just want to do that. You know.
And I mean, I think it's definitely like an opinion-based thing. It's nothing based out, like, I mean, I'm sure maybe some kids are able to still throw a ball with their dads on the weekend and develop the similar motor skills and all that kind of stuff. But just seeing that only in that obsession, and mainly it's when you see it taken away. So like kids playing football, soccer, and hockey, they find CrossFit, they do it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, then they quit all their sports at 15. Do you know what I mean? It's like Wayne Gretzky even saying like, playing hockey all year round is the worst thing you can do to be a hockey player.
I think that's pretty rare, at least based on my experiences.
Because I have no experience in this, so.
I think it's pretty rare. Like, we have a bunch of kids that are like into hockey, and they've like we had a kid this year that chose to do all 4 online qualifiers in one day because he had a hockey tournament. And I was cool with that. I'm like, dude, respect. Like, you know,
don't want to mess up your
hockey's tournament. You know, like the NHL is a little bit bigger than CrossFit right now. Like,
a little bit.
if you think you got a shot, like, do that. And you know what, if that's what you want to do that. You know, I'm not going to be like, you have to like do 2 workouts on the Friday and 2 on the Saturday and 2. It's all good, man. You know, like, have fun with it. But, you know, on the flip side, you do get these kids that are like obsessed with just CrossFit. And it's.
Well, my thing with that issue is like the impressionability. I don't know if that's a word. Impressionability. I don't know. The impression, like kids that age are really impressionable, I think is what I'm trying to say, in the sense of like, you know, they see the Fronings and the Hepners and all that doing 12 workouts a day, and you might get a 16-year-old in their garage trying to do 12 workouts a day. You know what I mean? And like you know, you could say that about anything because you watch Kobe Bryant train for basketball and it's the same thing, but like I feel like the culture in CrossFit, especially the unknown culture in CrossFit from what you see on Instagram, which is not the true case, could be leading down to how could that be looked upon?
I think if you're a teenager and that is something you want to do, you need a coach, or you need someone with a little bit more knowledge to guide you through that process, right? Like I don't think, like if you're a teenager out there listening to this, like I don't think that's smart, you know, because like I said, their bodies are sensitive, you know what I mean? Like, and I know what you mean. Like some kids go out there and these are their idols and they want to do everything they do, and that's like that's not really good for them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, I would just say like they should find some guidance. Get into an affiliate. Yeah. If they don't have a teen program, maybe just talk to one of the coaches at that affiliate and ask them to guide you. You know, like that's all. That's interesting.
Yeah. So we have the kids, we have the teens. Within that, like what's kind of the framework for like getting a kid developed, like not long term, but you know, like there's a shelf. What I'm trying to get at is like I believe, especially in the high end of CrossFit, there's some level of a shelf life, at least at a level. You know what I mean? So like, how do you make sure it's not too much too soon, and like the shelf life isn't when they're 25, they have all these aches and pains and whatever?
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's a good question, but I think we're too early in that sport for me to answer that question. Yeah. In our sport, because I don't know. Like, you know, we talk about shelf life, but like these guys like Ben Smith and Rich Froning, they've been doing it for a long time. Josh Bridges, long time. You know, Ben Smith was a teen when he started. Right, and he's still thriving in the sport. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I get it. It is early in the sport.
Yeah,
for sure to talk about it, but interesting.
Maybe. I mean, like the thing is, like teenagers see such development. You know, like as adults, we don't see that kind of development. Teenagers, like, especially in terms of strength, like from the age of 16 to 20, like some serious stuff happens to their bodies that allow them to get seriously good at this sport.
Well, some of our teenagers are like stronger than us or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy.
So and I think like I don't know, like do you count their shelf life when they're 16? Because like from 16 to 18, their snatch probably goes up by 100 pounds. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like
there's that teen at the games last year that snatched like 296 or something.
Right? So it's like it's just like gains, you know, like serious gains. And like adults don't see those gains. Yeah. So if an adult has a shelf life of let's say 5 years, does that translate back to a teen?
It's like dog years to human years.
Yeah, it's kind of like like teens are nowhere near their potential until their bodies have matured, right? And then they can really tap into what they can and can't do, you know? So
what are a couple of the things that you've learned? Because you've been a teens coach for a while now.
Yeah, and I've worked with kids all my life.
You've worked with kids all your life.
Yeah.
What are some take homes? So like maybe someone who's looking to start a kids or teens program at their affiliate, what are like some tips, some take homes, some things?
Like number one, you got to get your CrossFit Kids certified. Like you just have to.
Because isn't that just like a requirement to run a CrossFit Kids coach?
Yeah, exactly. And it's not to mention it's a great program. Like it's one of the best certs available. I remember when I took it, it was so fun. I had a great time, and you learn so much. And not only stuff specific to kids, but you learn stuff that you can bring back to your adult classes, and just a great course. Totally. That would be step one. Step two would be start small, right? Start with an age group you're comfortable with. So if you're in an affiliate, and you know everyone who owns a CrossFit affiliate has someone who's a parent, at least one person who's a parent. So maybe start with like a group of 2 or 3 kids that kind of frequent your affiliate, and just run a little program for them, and then take it from there, right? Maybe start out free, don't charge them, and then get a grasp of what you need to do and what you can work on, and then from there like offer a program. But you know, start small, grow your program, and then and it's be patient with it. You know, like when we started our kids program, it was very slow and very small, and it's taken quite a few years to get it to the point where it's at now, which is fine, right? Like if you're running a kids program at your affiliate, it's a great business generator, but that's not what it should be. It should be like a program to help kids make healthier choices in their life regarding fitness and health. So
is it usually the parents like that come to the gym that bring their kids, or is it kids whose parents don't come here?
I'd say it's 50-50.
It's a mix?
Yeah, at our gym.
Yeah.
I don't know about other gyms. I'm sure most gyms, it starts with the parents that, you know, they're doing the 5 o'clock class, their kids are doing the kids class at 5 o'clock.
Right.
But there are some cases where, like, you know, we have quite a few that parents drop, like they just, their parents don't CrossFit. They just want their kids to be a part of our program.
They just bring their kids and drop it off.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. What's something like you've learned just specifically from a coaching aspect? Maybe like something you thought changed over time, like a mistake you've made with like just how to make it fun for kids, something along those lines. Is there anything that like pops into your mind as like strictly from a coaching perspective?
I've learned tons, man. Like I've learned a lot of different strategies to make it fun for kids.
Yeah. You're super animated. Like I've seen you coach before. Like even when you've done your little breakout groups with me, like super animated with it. You know what I mean? So you kind of got to be a big version of yourself.
Like I said earlier, it's got to be fun for these kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you got to be goofy. You got to be fun. You got to be able to relate to these kids.
Yeah.
One thing that I love, and that I guess it's not a learning thing, but it's just like teaching kids keeps me young. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I need to know what Paw Patrol is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I need to know. I know the Paw Patrol characters. I know who Ryder is. I know like Pokemon. I know. You know what I mean? Like I know when The Incredibles 2 came out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, not.
You know what flossing is.
Yes, you got to know how to floss if you're teaching kids. You know what I mean? But you know, not things I'm super proud of learning, but these are just things that you gotta like stay on top of, which I love because it keeps me young. You know, and as a father to be, like, I love it. Yeah, I love it. You know, because it's like my biggest nightmare is to be that like not cool parent. I want to know what my kid's doing and be able to relate to him. So
I feel like sometimes that can make you the not cool parent, you know, trying.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I think you're good.
That'll be a work in progress. That'll be a work in progress. But
cool.
I've learned tons, and you learn how to work with special kids, right? Like especially kids who are, you know, giving you a hard time on that given day.
Yeah.
You learn tricks and tools and ways to work around them and how to like trick them into having fun and. You also learn a lot about like movement. You know, like kids move way different than adults do. So when you're cueing an adult class, the faults that you see in an adult class are completely different than the faults you see in a kid's class. Kids can move. They can get into some pretty weird positions.
Yeah.
So you need to
the bottom of the squat can look funny sometimes.
And with a kid, it's not fun to tell a kid, "Hey Johnny, stay on your heels, buddy."
Yeah.
That's not cool for a kid.
Yeah.
Right? You need to be like, "Hey Johnny, I have gum in my mouth and I'm going to pretend to put it on your heels." And that's going to force your heel to say, "Okay, coach, like, that's cool. You know, I got gum on my shoes, guys." Like, but, you know, the gum on the shoes will work on Tuesday, but it won't work on Thursday. So you got to have something different on Thursday. You know what I mean? You just stepped in concrete, Johnny. Like, and that process never, you know, like, you just have to have, like, an endless bank of cues and tricks for these kids.
Keeps it sharp.
Yeah.
Cool, man. All right, let's end it there. AMRAP 30, we're just under that.
Sick.
Good chat.
Sweet.